Hi guys, my name's Christine and I'm a dating, relationship and personal development coach. And today I'm talking about walk away so you're not walked on. Okay, so walking away is a great thing to do when you feel like you're no longer in a place where you're respected, loved, valued, cherished, when you're being disrespected. So this could be in a romantic sort of situation. So let's say you've got an ex that dumped you. So in that kind of situation, then you need to walk away and go into no contact. It could also be for other things as well, like you've got a family member that belittles you and says horrible things to you. And it also goes for situations like jobs and career. You know, if you're in a job that you don't feel like you're really valued, you know, of course, it's a good idea to stay in that job, but look for somewhere else where you can be valued and appreciated and not just treated like a number. So walking away displays self-respect, right? Because you want to be in a place where you are valued, where you're wanted, where you're appreciated. And if you keep staying in places like you keep on chasing an ex that no longer wants you, basically, if you continue to stay there, they will feel like they can treat you any way that they want to treat you because you're always there. Right, and you basically they can dump you. You know, if it's like a work situation, your boss can belittle you, or perhaps it's other colleagues that belittle you, or perhaps you've got a nasty supervisor, or maybe it's like a friend or family situation where they're belittling you. If you're just always around those people because you're just so desperate for a romantic connection, or you're desperate for a job, or you're desperate for a friendship, and you're so desperate to have friends that you just keep on staying even though your friend is kind of crappy to you, or your ex is kind of crappy to you. Or it even could be, you know, it doesn't even have to be an ex. It could be someone that you're actually in a relationship with that is treating you poorly and saying horrible things about you and belittling you and making you feel small. Okay? Now, again, like what I said with the job thing, like if you're in a job that you don't feel valued and you've got like a nasty boss, or you've got like a nasty supervisor or something like that, or you don't like the people you work with and you feel really undervalued and disrespected and you just feel horrible about yourself, then you may have to stay in that job, unfortunately, for a while until you find another one, and then you can put in your 2 weeks notice, okay? Or 4 weeks notice, depending on what kind of company you're in, because I know the notice period in some companies can be quite long, depending on, I think it depends on the higher the person's position is. So, you know, if that's the case, then you've got to, you know, walk away from those situations, or at least be trying to find a way out. So it can be difficult to kind of put this across. So if it's a situation like an ex, then what you do is you no longer talk to them, especially if they're the one that dumped you. You go into no contact. And then if they love you and care about you and they want you in their life, they will start chasing you because they'll realize that you're no longer talking to them. They'll feel the fear of losing you, and then they'll have to reach out. And when it comes to like friends and family members, now, obviously, sometimes it's much easier to walk away from an ex because they're already your ex. But what about your family members that are perhaps in your life? So your family members, if you've got a family member that's a bit nasty to you, first of all, it's a good idea to say to them that they're treating you like crap, right? You got to confront them about it. You got to say, hey, you know what? I don't really like the way you just spoke to me there. So I'm going to go. And you give me a call when you're ready to apologize because I really didn't appreciate what you just said to me. And then you walk away and you go into like no contact with them. And then if they care about you, if they realize their bad behavior, then they'll reach out to you and they will apologize. Now, if they do it again, then you may need to walk away from them for good. Or if it's, you know, someone who you have to spend time with, then you may have to just measure the distance and just spend less time with them, because you don't want to be around people who are always belittling you and it's something that's happening on a regular basis, or just not making you feel good, or just draining your energy, right? You want to be around people that uplift you, that energize you, that make you feel really excited and having, you know, and have a good time with them. You don't want to be hanging around people that are draining you or making you feel bad about yourself. Hang around people that uplift you, that, you know, excite you, that fills you up rather than depletes you. Okay. And you use that same kind of scenario with a friend, because perhaps you've been friends for a long time. You'd really love to stay friends. But if you word it in the way that I suggested just now about a family member, then if they care about you, if they value the friendship, they will chase after you, they'll apologize, and hopefully change their behavior. But again, if they don't change their behavior, then you may need to cut that person out of your life, that friend out of your life, or again, just spend less time with them. Okay, so that's all good and said and done. But what do you do when you walk away? Because sometimes it can be really difficult to not be the person that always apologizes, even when other people are in the wrong. Right? And it can be very difficult to be away from people that we love. So, for example, with an ex, who dumped you, perhaps you really didn't want to be dumped. Perhaps you really wanted to be with that person. And the walking away was perhaps the hardest thing that you've ever had to do, and going into no contact is the hardest thing you've ever had to do. Okay, and if that's the case, then you need to find ways to use this new time that you have on your hands productively. Okay, so one of the worst things that you can do is you start distracting yourself with pleasure. So there's a quote that I use all the time by Viktor Frankl, which is, when a man can't find a deep sense of meaning, they distract themselves with pleasure. And you don't want to be that kind of person. You don't want to be someone who's just, you're spending that time, that new time that you've got on your hands that used to be for your ex, on just binging Netflix, eating too much, drinking too much, playing too many video games. You want to use that time wisely and productively. Okay, so create some goals for yourself. A good question that I ask people all the time is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What kind of house would you like? What kind of body, what would you like your body to look like? What kind of money would you like to be earning? How would you like to be spending your free time? What kind of places would you like to travel to? What kind of, career, what would your career look like? If everything could be perfect for you in 5 years' time, what would that look like? And then you figure out some action steps that you can take every day to get you there. So if it's something about, your body and you want to get in better shape, then, go to a personal trainer or go and ask someone's advice at the gym about how you can get to that body shape and what you need to do. And then you start working on that every single day. Okay, you start, finding a way to make that a reality. And that's what you do with all of your goals that you want in 5 years' time. If it's a certain career that you want, then, you got to figure out how you can get there, how you can have that kind of job, how you can have that kind of career. It might be the case that you want to be self-employed and start your own business. So figure out what you need to do for that. Find someone who's already got the same kind of business that you would love to have and ask them what they've done. Or not copy, but perhaps you could, use them as a role model and see what they've done, and maybe you can do those same things as well, but obviously put your own twist on it, so you're not actually plagiarizing someone or just making a copycat company, right, basically. So obviously you always want to bring your own individualism to whatever you're creating. But it's a good idea to get role models for your goals, like who has that kind of house that you'd love to have, right? And ask them how they managed to do that. Go to the different areas where you'd love to live, and try and look around the community. Talk to people in that community so you can figure out if this is actually a place that you'd like to live, right? Doing all that kind of stuff, that will fill your time up, right? And and basically what you're doing is you are improving every facet of your life, right? You're improving absolutely everything, and you're healing as well, because when you do that, I think it really does heal you. When you are actually living somewhere that you really want to live, when you are exercising regularly and you're getting into the shape that you want to get into, those things are really curative, and they can really help if you've had a lot of heartache and a lot of struggle. And, the people who you've had to walk away from, whether they are exes, whether they're family members, whether they're friends, they will look on at your life and they'll think, wow, if I had just stayed a part of that person's life, if I had just been a lot nicer to that person, then perhaps I could be living that life with them too, right? And maybe that will be enough for them to extend the olive branch, start reaching out to you. But of course, by then, you'll need to ask yourself whether or not you even want that person back into your life. Another thing is, though, you need to let your ego drop sometimes and realize, is there anything that I did that contributed to this? Okay, you always have to self-reflect as well and figure out what you did wrong. as well. Even if they were the one that were wrong 99% of the time, there is still that 1% that you got wrong, that you could have done better, right? And you figure out what those things were. Perhaps with your ex, perhaps you didn't communicate with them very well. Perhaps you didn't understand or knew how to communicate with them. Perhaps you stopped taking them out on dates and they fell out of love with you because of that, because you were no longer spending time together. There are still some things that perhaps you could have done a lot better, and it's a good idea to figure out what those things are, so when you get into a new relationship, or you start a new friendship, or you start a new job, that you don't make the same mistakes, even if those mistakes were very, very small. But it's still a good idea to reflect on those things so you don't repeat them in the future. So thank you so much for watching. If you would like coaching with me, then please go to www.christineloveridge.com. And if there's anything you'd like me to discuss in a future video, then please leave it down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye.